Sir,
Pumpkin gun.
you want the deer to call an Uber to take you home?
U.S. Marines laughed at the old veteran's orange rifle until his 4,000 mm shot alerted the general. Sometimes wisdom comes disguised as foolishness, and legends walk among us unrecognized until the moment they choose to reveal themselves. The Quantico Marine Corps base shooting range stretched across Virginia hills like a testament to American marksmanship, its multiple firing lines accommodating everything from basic qualification courses to advanced sniper training. The autumn morning air carried the sharp crack of rifle fire and the metallic smell of gunpowder, while red range flags snapped in the October breeze. Corporal Jake Evans led his scout sniper training squad to the 1,000-yard line, their M40A5 rifles gleaming with the precision that marked Marine Corps equipment. At 24, Evans carried himself with the confidence of someone who'd graduated sniper school with distinction, earning respect from instructors and peers through consistent accuracy and tactical knowledge. His four-man team represented the cream of Marine marksmanship: Lance Corporals Rodriguez, Thompson, Kim, and Parker, each having survived the brutal attrition of scout sniper selection. They'd spent months mastering wind reading, range estimation, and the mental discipline required for precision shooting at extreme distances. At the far end of the firing line stood an anomaly that immediately drew their attention and derision. An elderly man in faded civilian clothes was assembling what appeared to be a custom rifle, painted bright hunter orange, a color that violated every principle of military camouflage and tactical discretion. Alan Palmer, 73 years old with silver hair and weathered hands that moved with surprising steadiness, seemed oblivious to the Marine's presence as he methodically prepared his equipment. His orange rifle looked like something from a hunting magazine rather than a precision shooting competition, while his civilian gear appeared outdated compared to the Marines' modern military equipment. "Check out Grandpa's pumpkin gun," Evans muttered to his team, earning snickers from the other Marines. "Probably thinks this is deer season." The old man's presence felt like an intrusion into their professional training environment, a reminder that civilian shooters often wandered onto military ranges during open competitions. Evans saw an opportunity to establish dominance and educate a civilian about military superiority. What the Marines didn't know was that legends sometimes returned to the places where they were born. Alan Palmer had been shooting at Quantico since before these Marines were born, though he'd kept that history to himself during the registration process. His orange rifle, a custom-built piece that looked garish but performed with surgical precision, represented 40 years of refinement and personal modification that no military armorer could match. Corporal Evans approached Palmer with the swagger of youth addressing age, his team following like an entourage ready to witness civilian embarrassment. "Sir, this is a military training range. Are you sure you're in the right place?" Palmer looked up from his rifle assembly with pale blue eyes that held depths Evans couldn't recognize. "Registration says I'm cleared for the long-range competition, unless there's a problem with my paperwork." His voice carried a quiet authority that came from decades of command, though the Marines interpreted his calm demeanor as typical civilian deference to military authority. Evans examined Palmer's competition credentials, finding everything technically correct, but somehow inadequate. "What's with the orange paint job?" Rodriguez called out, his question drawing laughter from the other Marines. "Trying to make sure the deer can see you coming?" Palmer's weathered face showed no reaction to the mockery. "Color doesn't affect ballistic performance, son. Function over form." He continued assembling his rifle with movements that spoke of muscle memory developed over countless repetitions. "Function over form?" Thompson repeated mockingly. "Old man, this is about precision shooting, not hunting squirrels. We're trained Marine Scout snipers. This isn't amateur hour." The dismissal struck Palmer with familiar irony. He'd heard similar comments throughout his career from young soldiers who confused military training with actual combat experience. Though he'd learned long ago that arguing with confident ignorance was futile, Evans decided to establish clear hierarchies. "Tell you what, Pops, why don't you watch how real shooters handle long-range precision? Maybe you'll learn something before you embarrass yourself." Palmer nodded politely and continued his preparations, his hands moving with the efficiency of someone who'd performed these same actions under considerably more stressful circumstances than a Virginia shooting competition. The Marines took their positions at the 1,000-yard line, their military precision and coordinated movements designed to impress the civilian observer who'd wandered into their domain. Evans felt confident that their demonstration would establish appropriate respect for military marksmanship and perhaps encourage the old man to withdraw gracefully. What Evans didn't anticipate was that Palmer had no intention of shooting at the 1,000-yard targets that represented the Marines' maximum effective range. Palmer was preparing for something significantly more ambitious. Evans and his team executed their 1,000-yard shooting sequence with textbook precision, their 5-shot groups clustering within the scoring rings that marked professional-level marksmanship. Each Marine achieved scores that would have impressed civilian shooters and satisfied military instructors. Exactly the performance Evans had expected to demonstrate superior training and equipment. "Not bad for government work," Palmer observed mildly as the Marines retrieved their targets, his tone carrying no obvious sarcasm, though Evans detected something that might have been amusement. "Not bad," Kim replied with wounded pride. "Old man, we just shot expert scores at 1,000 yards with military precision rifles. That's world-class marksmanship." Palmer nodded agreeably while making final adjustments to his orange rifle's scope, his movements suggesting familiarity with precision equipment that extended far beyond weekend hunting trips. "You boys shoot real nice. Good fundamentals." The condescending tone in "boys" triggered Evans's protective instincts about military respect and hierarchy. These Marines had earned their positions through months of grueling training that eliminated 70% of candidates, and they deserved recognition from civilian observers. "Your turn, Pops," Evans announced. "Let's see what that pumpkin gun can do at 1,000 yards. Try to keep it on the target." Palmer glanced toward the 1,000-yard line, then beyond it to distant hills that stretched toward the horizon. "Actually, I was thinking about trying something a bit more challenging." He pointed toward a barely visible ridgeline approximately 4,000 meters distant, where a communications tower created the faintest silhouette against morning sky. "See that tower? Makes for interesting ballistic calculations." The Marines followed his gesture with growing incredulity. The distance Palmer indicated represented nearly 400 yards, more than 4 times their maximum effective range and well beyond anything civilian shooters attempted with hunting rifles. "Old man," Rodriguez said with forced patience, "that's physically impossible. Even our best military snipers don't attempt shots beyond 2,000 meters except in very specific circumstances. You're talking about shooting at something you can barely see." Palmer shrugged and began calculating wind speed, humidity, and temperature with mental arithmetic that impressed the Marines, despite their skepticism. His orange rifle was equipped with a scope that looked surprisingly sophisticated beneath its garish paint scheme. "Ballistics are ballistics," Palmer replied, making minute adjustments to his rifle's elevation and windage settings. "Distance just adds more variables to account for." Evans realized the situation was escalating beyond simple civilian education into potential range safety issues. Allowing an untrained shooter to attempt impossible shots could result in wild rounds that violated base safety protocols. "Sir, I can't let you endanger other range users with unsafe shooting practices. Military regulations require—" "Son," Palmer interrupted gently, "I've been shooting on this range since before you were born. I understand the safety protocols better than most." The quiet authority in Palmer's voice suggested background knowledge that didn't match his civilian appearance, but Evans felt committed to maintaining military standards regardless of the old man's confidence. Thompson consulted his range-finding equipment. "Even if you could hit something at that distance, which you can't, the bullet drop would be over 500 inches. Your scope doesn't have enough elevation adjustment." Palmer smiled for the first time that morning, an expression that held secrets the Marines couldn't interpret. "Son, this rifle has been modified for applications you probably haven't considered." As he settled into his shooting position, Palmer's entire demeanor transformed from elderly civilian to something the Marines couldn't quite identify, but instinctively recognized as dangerous competence. The transformation was so complete that Evans felt his first serious doubt about this confrontation. Palmer's shooting position revealed training that contradicted everything about his civilian appearance. His body alignment, breathing control, and rifle interface demonstrated fundamentals that exceeded what most Marines achieved after months of formal instruction. Evans watched with growing unease as the old man's entire persona shifted from amusing civilian to something approaching professional competence. "Last chance to reconsider this, Pops," Evans warned, though his voice carried less certainty than before. "That's an impossible shot for anyone, and I can't have wild rounds endangering base personnel." Palmer's pale blue eyes met Evans's gaze with steady confidence that belonged on military ranges rather than civilian competitions. "Corporal, I appreciate your concern for safety, but I've made more difficult shots under considerably worse conditions." The statement struck the Marines as typical civilian braggadocio. Old hunters often claimed impossible achievements that sounded impressive around campfires, but crumbled under military scrutiny. Yet something about Palmer's calm certainty suggested experience that extended beyond weekend shooting trips. Kim pulled out his spotting scope, focusing on the distant communications tower that represented an absurdly ambitious target. "Sir, I can barely make out that tower with magnification. There's no way you can hit something you can't even see clearly." "Vision isn't always about magnification, son," Palmer replied, making final adjustments to his scope with movements that spoke of decades of practice. "Sometimes it's about understanding what you're looking at." Rodriguez attempted one final deterrent. "Old man, Even if you somehow managed to hit that tower, which is impossible, you'd alert every officer on base to unauthorized shooting at extreme range. That's how Marines end up in serious trouble. Palmer's weathered face showed what might have been amusement. Son, alerting officers might be exactly what this situation needs. The cryptic response unsettled Evans, who realized the confrontation had moved beyond simple civilian education into territory he didn't understand. Palmer's confidence wasn't diminishing under military pressure. If anything, it seemed to be increasing as the challenge became more defined. "Sir, I'm ordering you to abandon this unsafe shooting attempt," Evans declared, invoking military authority that had never failed to command civilian compliance. "As the senior Marine present, I'm responsible for range safety." Palmer paused his rifle preparation and looked directly at Evans with an expression that carried decades of command authority. "Corporal, you're a fine Marine with excellent training, but you're about to learn something important about assumptions and respect." The statement carried implications that extended far beyond civilian shooting competitions. Evans felt the first serious concern that this confrontation might have consequences beyond simple range discipline. Palmer settled behind his orange rifle with the fluid precision of someone who'd performed identical movements thousands of times under conditions that made Virginia shooting ranges seem like peaceful gardens. His breathing slowed to the deep rhythm of someone entering the mental state required for precision shooting at impossible distances. "Fire in the hole," Palmer announced quietly, his voice carrying the professional courtesy of someone warning others about imminent gunfire. Evans found himself torn between stopping an apparently unsafe shot and witnessing what promised to be spectacular civilian failure. His military training demanded intervention, but something about Palmer's complete confidence suggested this confrontation was moving beyond his understanding or control. The orange rifle fired. The report from Palmer's rifle echoed across Quantico with authority that suggested significantly more power than standard civilian hunting calibers. The Marines watched through their optical equipment as the bullet traced its impossible arc toward the distant communications tower, expecting to witness nothing more than a missed shot at an absurdly ambitious target. 4 seconds later, the metallic ping of impact carried across 4,000 meters of Virginia countryside with clarity that made the Marines exchange stunned glances. Through their spotting scopes, they watched as the communications tower's antenna swayed from what appeared to be direct contact with Palmer's bullet. "Holy shit," Rodriguez whispered, his professional composure cracking as he processed what he'd just witnessed. He actually hit it. Evans felt his world shift as military certainties about civilian capabilities collapsed under evidence his own eyes couldn't deny. The impossible shot Palmer had just executed exceeded anything Evans had seen during advanced sniper training, representing marksmanship that belonged in record books rather than casual demonstrations. Palmer cycled his rifle's bolt and ejected the spent brass with movements that spoke of muscle memory developed through countless repetitions. "Wind was tricky at that distance," he observed mildly, apparently treating a 4,000-meter precision shot as routine target practice. Before the Marines could process their new reality, military vehicles began approaching their position with urgency that suggested official attention to their shooting activities. 2 Humvees converged on the range from different directions, their occupants clearly responding to reports of unauthorized long-range shooting near sensitive base facilities. General Marcus Williams emerged from the lead vehicle with the bearing of someone accustomed to command authority, his 2 stars immediately establishing hierarchical supremacy over everyone present. At 58, Williams had commanded Marine units through 3 decades of service, earning respect through combat leadership and administrative competence. Who's responsible for the unauthorized shooting at the communications facility? General Williams demanded, his voice carrying the edge that made junior officers nervous about their career prospects. Evans stepped forward with the confidence of someone expecting to report civilian rule violations that would vindicate military judgment. "Sir, this civilian attempted an unsafe shot despite my warnings. I tried to prevent—" "Civilian?" General Williams interrupted, his attention focusing on Palmer with recognition that stopped Evans mid-sentence. "Allen, what the hell are you doing here?" Palmer stood and faced the general with easy familiarity that contradicted everything the Marines understood about military hierarchy and civilian relationships. "Hello, Marcus. Just testing some ballistic calculations." "Testing ballistic calculations," General Williams repeated, his tone mixing exasperation with grudging admiration. "Allen, you just put a round through our communications antenna from 4,000 meters out. Base security is going crazy trying to figure out whether we're under attack." The casual interaction between Palmer and the general revealed relationships that extended far beyond anything the Marines had anticipated. Evans felt his understanding of the situation collapse as military hierarchy appeared to include the civilian shooter they'd been mocking. General Williams turned to address the stunned Marines directly. "Gentlemen, allow me to introduce Master Gunnery Sergeant Alan Palmer, retired Marine Corps Scout Sniper Instructor and holder of the longest confirmed kill shot in Marine Corps history, a 3,847-meter shot during the Persian Gulf War." The revelation struck the Marines like physical blows. The elderly civilian they dismissed as Pops, an old man, was actually a Marine Corps legend whose service record exceeded anything they might achieve during their entire careers. Palmer's orange rifle, which had seemed like amateur equipment, now revealed itself as a custom precision instrument, refined through decades of professional experience that made their military-issue weapons seem primitive by comparison. General Williams used the incident as an impromptu lesson in military humility and respect for Marine Corps history. Evans and his team received comprehensive education about Palmer's service record, including 3 combat tours, 14 confirmed kills at extreme range, and his development of sniper techniques still taught at Quantico. Palmer became a recurring guest instructor for advanced sniper courses, his orange rifle becoming legendary among Marines who learned that unconventional appearance often concealed exceptional capability. His 4,000-meter demonstration shot was officially recorded as a new base record. Evans matured rapidly from the experience, developing genuine respect for veteran knowledge and understanding that military expertise extended far beyond current service members. He became an advocate for veteran recognition programs and maintained correspondence with Palmer for years. The incident spawned multiple military training scenarios about assumptions, respect, and the importance of listening to experience regardless of its packaging. Palmer's story became required reading for leadership development courses, emphasizing humility and recognition of expertise. Sometimes, Wisdom comes disguised as foolishness, and legends walk among us unrecognized until the moment they choose to reveal themselves, proving that true authority emerges from competence rather than appearance or assumption.